Have roll call.
Mayor Truman.
Here.
Councilmember Colbert.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Bass. Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory. Here. Councilmember Kerstetter. Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Stam.
I'll stand for the invocation and pledge allegiance, please. No invocation tonight, okay? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Moving on to the approval of the October 1st council meeting minutes.
Mayor, the agenda first.
Oh, the agenda first, excuse me.
Motion to approve agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, now moving on to the approval of the council minutes of October 1st, 2024.
Get motion to approve the minutes of October 1st, 2024, regular council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the October 1st, 2024 minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to presentations and proclamations. I have quite a list here today. First responder proclamation for First Responders Day. Whereas the first responders include nurses, paramedics, emergency service personnel, firefighters, police officers, 911 dispatch, search and rescue teams, and members of other organizations in the public sector. Whereas the first responders risk their lives selfishly, run into danger to protect the state's citizens, serving as the first defense against emergencies that threaten our communities. And whereas first responders are highly trained and undergo extensive education, training, and personal sacrifice to develop the expertise required to respond to emergency situations. And whereas on this day, we should honor Valley Center's brave, selfless, and compassionate heroes who touch countless lives every day and pay tribute to those who paid the ultimate price in the line of duty. Now, therefore, I, James E. Truman, Mayor of Valley Center, do hereby proclaim October 28th, 2024 as First Responder Day and encourage all citizens to recognize our public safety staff. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the Great Seal Valley Center to be affixed to this 15th day of October, year 2024. Proclamation for National American Indian Heritage Month. Whereas the history and culture of our great nation has been significantly influenced by American Indians and indigenous people, and whereas the contributions of the American Indians have enhanced the freedom, prosperity, and greatness of America today, and whereas their customs and traditions are respected and celebrated as part of a rich legacy throughout the United States. Whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and was recognized and expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in 1990, designated the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. And whereas in honor of National American Indian Heritage Month, the community celebrates as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educations, and historical activities have been planned. Now therefore, I, James Truman, Mayor of Valley Center, hereby proclaim the month of November 2024 as National American Indian Heritage Month and urge all citizens to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal, City of Valley Center, to be affixed to the 15th day of October 2020. Military Appreciation Month. Whereas the freedom and security that citizens of the United States enjoy today are direct results of bloodshed and continued vigilance given by the United States Armed Forces over history of our great nation. And whereas the sacrifices that such members of the United States Armed Forces and the family members that support them have preserved the liberties that have enriched this nation, making it unique in the world community. And whereas we are celebrating November 11th, 2024, Veterans Day, are calling all Americans to remember those who give their lives in defense of freedom and to honor the men and women of all our armed services who have served and are now serving our country, together with their families. And whereas we celebrate Victory in Europe Day, Military Spouse Day, Loyalty Day, Armed Forces Day week, National Day of Prayer, Memorial Day, Navy Day, Army Day, and Flag Day, therefore I call upon all citizens to display the flag of the United States and to participate in activities in the community. I therefore call upon all Americans, including civic and fraternal organizations, place of worship, schools, to support this day with the commemorative expressions and programs. Now I therefore, James Truman, Mayor of Valley Center, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2024 as a special time to show appreciation to our military and proclaim it as Military Appreciation Month in the Valley Center, Kansas, and encourage all citizens to join in showing our gratitude by appropriately displaying flags, ribbons during this designated period. And that's all. So congratulations. We got a busy month, busy day. Moving on to Employee Longevity Awards.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So it's my privilege to start this off, and how appropriate on one of your proclamations for First Responder Day that 3 of our 4 employees were recognizing first responders. So it's nice it worked out that way. First person on the list there, Chris Kaufman. He was going to try to be here tonight. He wanted to be here. I planned on being here. Didn't realize that one of his daughters had a game out of town, so he couldn't make it back. He was going to try to make it back in time. Chris began his firefighter career with Wichita Fire Department, where he worked his way up to the position of captain. He joined our fire department as a part-time firefighter in December of 2003, so he's actually coming up on 21 years this December. But his knowledge and his experience that he brings to our department is invaluable when he's out fighting fires. I know Chief Tormey feels better knowing, that he has that kind of experience out there, and it makes his job easier. So I would start by recognizing Chris Kaufman first. I heard a door, I thought, so I wanted to make sure he didn't sneak in. Second on the list, he is here tonight, Josh Tormey. Josh Tormey began his firefighter career as a part-time firefighter with Valley Center in December also of '08, so he's coming up on 16 years. After beginning his career here, he went full-time with Sedgwick County Fire District 1 and has currently worked his way up to lieutenant there. He continued to serve in our community, the community he grew up in. I remember Josh when he was little, so I've watched him grow up. But he continued to serve our community and the community he grew up in, and he's worked his way up to the rank of lieutenant for our part-time fire department as well. Josh is passionate about the department. He's passionate about firefighting, and he's poured that passion into the department. He's worked many hours, developing curriculum for training. He's big into training, and in our field, whether it be fire, law enforcement, training is important. Training saves lives. It saves our citizens' lives. It can save our lives. He's put a lot of time and effort into that, not only developing the curriculum, but then coming out and training the firefighters on it. We've added, council added in the last couple years ago, over the years since I've been in there, we've added more full-time positions. Josh has developed a training program for them as well. A playbook is what I believe he calls it. And, he has basically went through it, and everything we do, which may seem minute to some people or may seem different, everything they do for a reason. And so he has put all that out in writing. He's developed the curriculum, and he's developed an evaluation process so that when we hire these full-time firefighters like we did a couple of years ago, they're able to go through this. And it's essentially, for us, it's like an academy. It's like their fire department training academy. It makes sure that they're doing things the way we do things and making sure they're receiving the proper training. And that, in large part, is Josh. Since I became the public safety director, we've undertaken a couple of big projects, and Josh has been a huge part of those. When it came to designing and speccing out the new engine that I'm sure you all have seen, and it looks great. It's a great tool. He was a big part of that. The training grounds, which you might not have seen yet, and I invite you out to see that sometime. Josh has been a big part of that. I can remember years ago, they've always done training, but twice a month, in fact. It used to be you put a cone out in the field and spray water on it and pretend like it's a fire. That can be okay. That teaches them how to use the pumps. It teaches them how to do certain things, but it can in no way replace live training. We've developed a live training ground out at the sewer plant, and we're adding to that as we go. We actually have plans and are working this year to add more to it. That way we can actually do live fire training, smoke, so we're not simulating anything. We're not saying pretend like, you can't see because it's smoky in here, pretend like there's a fire there. It's live actual training that they get to go through. That kind of training is invaluable because it saves lives. Again, our firefighters and our citizens when they actually have to respond to a real call. And so tonight, it's my privilege to recognize Josh for his 15 years of service, nearly 16 years. And just wanted to recognize him in front of you. Josh. True, it's all true.
I can't top that. Thank you for everything.
If I go ahead and skip, I'll go ahead and finish my last one. With Sergeant Easley, also 15 years recognition, began in April of 2009. He started his law enforcement career with us. This was his first law enforcement job. worked as a patrol officer, did a great job. He's been through various areas. He went from patrol to SRO. Did a great job as SRO at the high school, where he mentored our youth and built relationships that still last today. He was in there for a while, and then he wanted more. He wanted a different challenge, and so he moved over to investigations, a new challenge. And again, that one was probably a little shorter time because sergeant's position came open. Sergeant Easley has been a leader in the department even before he was a supervisor. And so it was natural for him to move up to the sergeant's position. Since becoming a sergeant, he has done multiple things as sergeant. He's worked sergeant over patrol. He's been sergeant because of his SRO and investigations experience. He's primary sergeant over, school resource officers and investigations. He's not afraid to take on new work and new projects. And he's been a huge help to myself and to Captain Vogt. Many of you know, or you all know, I think, we've in the last couple of years have got a new CAD system through Sedgwick County 911. We also partnered with Sedgwick County Sheriff's Department for new records management software. That is not easy to learn. Sergeant Easley took it upon himself to learn it. A lot of self-taught, seeking out people who knew, and he's kind of become our go-to for that when it comes to being able to check in cases. And what you may not know is there's statutes and laws on things that we have to report to the state via the state, who in turn sends it to the FBI. And without him and what he does in this system, that probably wouldn't be possible right now. So it's a very complicated system, and he has done well learning that. When I wanted to take on, and it's kind of slowed down because we've been shorthanded for a while, when I wanted to take on accreditation, again, he stepped forward and he's like, I'm all in. He helped me get buy-in from the officers. He's like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And so he's taken the lead on that and kind of become my point person for that as well. So he's been invaluable to the department, much like Josh, and again, the community. His family, they live around here, they go to school, his kids go to school here, and he's just ingrained himself into the community, and it's more than a job, it's a passion for these guys, for all of us that do this. So it's my privilege to recognize Sergeant Easley tonight for his 15 years. Forgot to mention, he's also saved us a lot of money in grant writing. He writes our grants for the police department as well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. We would all like to extend our heartfelt congratulations to Amanda Park on her 15th work anniversary with the City of Valley Center. This incredible milestone is a testament to her dedication, hard work, and commitment to excellence over the past 15 years. Okay. Throughout Amanda's time with the city, she consistently demonstrates professionalism, reliability, and a strong work ethic that has a positive impact on our team and the community we serve. Her contributions have been invaluable, and her dedication to doing everything the right way is truly commendable. On behalf of the entire City of Valley Center, I want to express our gratitude for Amanda's unwavering commitment and outstanding service. Her achievements and milestones like this are a source of inspiration for everyone around her. And kind of off script for a second, I've not been here long, but Amanda has been absolutely amazing, getting me up to speed, helping me catch on to different things. Just today, I talked to Brent that my office is kind of packed in. Can I start kind of moving out some of the older stuff from the early 2000s, late 1990s kind of stuff out of my office? Amanda came down with a trash can and just started helping me right then and there without me even asking, loading up trash sacks and bins, and we were hauling it out to the dumpster. So she truly is She embodies everything that we would want an employee to be. Unwavering commitment to detail. She does an excellent job with our accounting system, and I think she's the only person in City Hall that probably, if she needed to, could probably do just a little bit of everybody's job. So I'm honored, and I want to give you congratulations on this remarkable achievement, and here's to many more successful years ahead. Thank you, Amanda.
Now, Mayor, if we could get a picture with everyone up here. Everyone overseas, yes, yes, yes. And the department directors. Yes, yes, yes. Come on, you two.
Easy there, man.
Also, balls everywhere. Here, a loud thump.
On the whole. I want to congratulate all you and thank you for your service for the city and that you do for the city. Thank you all. Moving on to the public forum. Is anybody here from the public who would like to address the council on anything that's not on the agenda other than the two I have right here? Brian Johnson, please state your name and address and speak into that microphone in your outside voice.
I'm a teacher. I don't need a microphone.
Oh, okay.
My name is Brian Johnson. I live at 560 North Emporia. Mr. Mayor, city council members, and Brent. I've lived at 560 North Emporia for approximately 9 years. Back of our house ends up facing the public safety building and Motivate Fitness. We're the guys with the big 12-foot skeleton standing out there waving at everybody. On September 14th, we were hosting my daughter's birthday party, and around 6 p.m., she was standing there, and I watched her from the kitchen run through the garage across the street. She watched two kids get hit by a car. They used the crosswalk there at the crosswalk and witnessed a car coming west, supposedly blinded by the sunlight, and hit two middle school girls. Girls were fine. They had scratches, but my daughter had to fill out a police report on her birthday and then ended up taking cupcakes to them afterwards. The next Monday, which was approximately, I believe, the 16th, my wife walked out at 7 a.m. to take out the trash and saw a boy crossing the street and actually get hit again by a car. This one nicked the back tire, knocked him off the bike. He got up, ran away. No police report was filed on that. We've lived there for approximately 9 years, and we've seen a lot of near misses. My request to you guys is to simply inform you that I think that light's not working well, and we need to maybe investigate what to do with it. Questions?
Thank you. Mike Miller? Okay. Anyone else? Close the public hearing then. Moving on to appointments. We don't have any appointments tonight. Moving on to cemetery, old business. Barry, before you start, the hips would like to talk,
That's fine.
and then you can address the council. Will that be okay? Do it that way. Yeah.
I'm Nikki Hips, wife of Stephen Hips, 446 Meads Drive, Valley Center. And once again, I'm here to ask for the return of our $800 that we were forced to pay the city for the burial of Emmett Hips. I have read Mr. Arbuckle's recommendation, and while it may be legally correct, I do not believe it is morally right. We have a long-standing history in America. When we pass a new law, a new tax, we don't make it retroactive. You would not expect me to pay a tax today on a car I bought a year ago just because you increased the tax last week. Another issue for me is Emmett did not pay that $800. We were forced to transfer a deed into a dead man's name who could make no contract. Stephen was not executor and did not have the legal authority to make that transfer for him. If the city wishes to pursue $800 for that plot, they should pursue it from the estate of Emmett Hipps. We pay taxes to that cemetery. We should not be double taxed for that plot as an outside resident. I showed Jet earlier an interesting map that was given to us when we purchased those plots. And I think you'd all enjoy looking at it, but the first section of the 14th Amendment calls for equal protection under the law. And not just equal protection, equal treatment, fairness. If we today are going to be billed under the current ordinance and not grandfathered in under the ordinance that was in effect, then everybody inside the city limits or outside the city limits should be subject to those same rules. If there's 200 people that bought plots in 2011 at $200 like we did, and they're $800 now, the city would have every right to seek those funds from them. And I think this has kind of opened up a little can of worms that I didn't think it would go that far. But I would respectfully ask that you honor the city's words and deeds at the time they made them and not punish us for living here as long as we have. Thank you.
Mayor and council, I was asked to take a look at this at the last meeting, and Mrs. Hipps apparently has conceded that we're within our lawful authority to request the additional monies that was due in connection with Mr. Hipps' father. I believe that would be $800. She's kind of misstated the facts, though. The fact is that when the cemeteries was first set up in 2003, we passed the resolution in 2003 and the initial ordinance. And that initial resolution also required, with the same language, the differential in the charges. And as I quoted in my memo to you, the original ordinance or resolution said to the effect that lot purchase for a resident of Valley Center, Kansas is X. All others, and that's the words used, all others is Y. So there was from the get-go, there was a differential in what was charged to a non-resident that was being interred there and to a resident, and it was several $100s. That was carried forward in 2011, the resolution that controls Mr. Hipps' father's situation, that became effective in January of 2012. And if you look at that resolution, as my memo points out, again, the same language is used. Lot purchase for a resident of Valley Center, Kansas is, I believe, $1,000. All others, $400. So that language was carried forward in 2003. So as I see it, there was no change in the resolution or the ordinance requiring a non-resident that's to be interred at that location, that non-resident cost to be substantially higher than the residential cost. And there was a reason behind that. And I think you all know what that is, obviously. We want to honor the folks that are paying taxes here, and that's one way to do it, is to reduce their burial costs. But when the new resolution was passed and the 22 ordinance was updated, which would cover Mr. Hipps' situation, we carried that a little bit further and made it more specific. And in 2022, the new ordinance says that if you purchase a lot, you have to designate who is to be interred there. You have to name that person as to be interred. And if that person is not you, then you immediately have to deed that lot to the person that's to be interred there. And again, it carries forward the differential between a resident of the city of Alcantara and a non-resident in the ordinance itself. But we've tried to perhaps clean that up by making it apparent when you buy that lot after 2022, you need to designate who's going to be interred there. Now, I agree that would not apply to Mr. Hipp's situation, but that doesn't make any difference. The point is, he either had a person interred there that was a resident of Valley Center, Kansas, as he would have been, or he wasn't. And that didn't occur. So the city is asked for those additional costs. I thought they already been paid. Maybe I misunderstood what the facts were, but I thought we'd already collected $800 and they were requesting a refund. But at any rate, I think the city is well within its rights to request that additional $800. In fact, the ordinance says, the later ordinance says, a person shouldn't even be interred or can't even be interred until that cost is paid in full. And apparently that wasn't enforced in this situation. I don't know why, but it wasn't. But that's how final it makes that final cost to be paid to be. It says you have to pay that before an interment can take place. Be happy to answer any questions you have, but the other situation where other persons may not have paid exactly what is owed, that doesn't act as an estoppel to keep the city from enforcing what our ordinances say. So the fact that maybe that's happened in the past on more than one occasion, again, it's not a defense to the city, enforcing the terms of the ordinance as written and as we've tried to do of late at least.
And just a point of clarification there, Barry. They did pay that $800 difference before Mr. Emmett Hipps was buried. And also, too, just a point of clarification that it is $400 for a resident and $1,000 for non-residents. And that's what went into effect January 1st of 2012. So just making sure that we were all on the same page as far as the fees go.
Question, that's all I would have.
I guess I have a question. I guess it's to Barry. Just my own personal. I'm gonna use myself as an example, okay? If I buy 5 lots for my 5 boys and designate each lot for those boys, they're currently Valley Center residents. And if they move out of town for some reason and come back into town or pass away and have to be interned, are they still residents?
Well, you'd be required under the present ordinance to convey that property, that lot, to the child at the time. In other words, now. And I would think that, yes, they would still be entitled to the resident cost because at the time the contract was made, they were residents. And they were residents when they received the deed from you. So, yes, they were entitled to the residential cost burial.
Would be to Amanda next. Is that a deed to that plot, or can I still hold the deed for the 5 lots and have 5 boys named to each lot?
The deed would have to be in your children's name.
You'd have to deed them to our children's name.
The deed would be in your children's name, not in yours, Jeff.
Okay. Well, that's clears a lot of stuff up, but I think we need to look at notifying those people that own multiple lots, and tell them that, explain that to them in a certified letter or something, so we don't have this incident again. I don't want this to come back to us ever again, because this is not, it's not good for the city. It's not good for the citizens that in good faith bought lots with a different understanding. I've read both the ordinances too, and I see Barry's point, but I don't want to surprise another family like we did to Hips. Excuse me, Nikki, you have to come up to the,
In the situation that Jed described, his son moved away. It's going to be deeded in his name. Then he is an outside resident. And you said the city would honor that ordinance that was in place because he was a resident at time of purchase. When we made our purchase said for the period of immediate family members, and we were very forthright that we were buying plots to bury our parents in.
but,
So why isn't that ordinance honored? That's the only question.
and I can explain that, because they just cleared that up for me. The plot was not in his name. He didn't hold the deed to that property with your dad's name on it. You can come back up to the mic, please.
Emmett, the bill is Emmett's, doesn't it become a part of his estate?
Well, that's
See, that's
a question I don't
because
know.
we're the ones that paid the $800. We're city residents. We paid the city fees that were given to us at the time. And at the time, I think the outside city fee was $750, but yet we were billed for the full $1,000. So if we're going to honor, then he owed me about $300. But I don't care. I just don't want anybody else to go through this
Neither do I.
because it was horrible. And thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm kind of stand great. I've been up since 4.
Thank you. Anything else, Barry? You've answered my question. I just wanted to clarify that. So people can understand that if they have multiple lots for multiple family members, they need to come back into the city and get those deed transferred into those family names.
If they know.
If they know, and if they don't know, then they need to know what's possible going to happen. So, any other comments from the council? Dan?
I've thought about this a lot since it happened. It was a horrible ordeal for the family to go through. I mean, it puts the city in a bad spot, and it comes down to the contracts and as Barry explained, the legalities of it. It's a bad deal all the way around. And I've also asked the way as Jet did to see if the staff can, if there's a way for us to do it. The problem comes after they purchase that. We may not have a way to get a hold of them if they've moved. That's part of the issue is if they're not, I don't know if we have a way to contact them. Basically, we're just waiting for them to contact us when they need to use that plot. And it comes down to, and it's bad for us, puts us, the council in a bad spot because we feel for the family. But it comes down to the legalities of who's paying the taxes on that cemetery. And from my understanding, when we approved the ordinance, what did we do in 22? An ordinance, repeal and replace the ordinance. That was to clarify and to keep from having someone to buy, say a church or a group from buying a whole bunch and then reselling them to people. And that was what the clarification was done at that time. And that cleared up whoever owned that then had to pay a transfer to another person to keep people from doing that and buying up a bunch of plots. I don't know if there's any, it's just a bad situation all around and I feel for the family, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to this. So that's all I have to say.
Anyone else? We don't have any action to take? We do? Oh, yeah, we do. I need a motion to deny the request of the reimbursement for the hips of $800. Or to approve or deny it, one way or the other. We need to work out, we need to motion.
I hate to, but I think we have to deny it. So I will make that motion.
I will second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to deny the request for reimbursement to the Stephen Hips for the amount of $800. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Yeah, okay. Moving on now. Moving on to the approval of the professional services agreement with Garver LLC for the Rio Bella subdivision.
Eric Glover with Garver, 1995 Midfield Road, Wichita, Kansas. I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Gina?
Just, I read this contract. I'm not a lawyer. I don't
Neither am
understand
I.
all this stuff. But in the payment section,
Uh-huh.
in invoicing statements, it says the owner's terms and conditions set forth in a purchase order or any similar document are expressly rejected. What does that mean?
Where are we looking?
Under number 3, payment, invoicing statements, 3.2, right at the last sentence.
3.33.
No,
3.2.
3.2,
The last sentence.
Oh, up there. I'm sorry.
I'm sure it's standard language.
I
But I don't
honestly
know
have
what that
no
means.
idea what that could mean.
Do you know, Barry?
If there's additional terms outside of this agreement put forth in a purchase order, so you can't add additional terms to a purchase order, I believe. I think I just earned my law degree.
You know, there's 2 lawyers in the room, so they might be able to ordain you. But no, I think that is, basically stating that, you can't change, once the invoice to the owner on a monthly basis, that, you can't change it once it's submitted. So once the invoice is submitted, it has signatures on it from the architect, from the engineer, and then also requires the cities as the owner. And so all those signatures are then required on that one document. So it probably just says can't, set forth in a purchase order, can't change. That's the way I would take that. I'm not a lawyer, but that's the way that we processed them.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Yeah.
I'll ask the Dale question. I assume this is rolled into the specials for the subdivision. Okay.
That's part of the petition.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve agreement for Garver LLC professional service for the Rio Bella subdivision. Not to exceed $64,000. Authorized mayor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approval of the professional service agreement with Garver for the Rio Bella subdivision. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, executive session. Need a motion?
I move for council to recess into executive session for consultation with attorney, which would be deemed privileged pursuant to KSA 75-4319B1, session to include governing body, mayor, city administrator, city attorney, and T. Chet Compton, attorney. The open meeting will resume in city council chamber in 15 minutes.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to go into executive session for 15 minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign, motion carried. We will adjourn until 8 o'clock. Moving on to resolution 767-24. Authorization of the IntraFi account, Fidelity Bank.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is a continuation of the discussion we had 2 weeks ago in which we approved the IntraFi account for Intrust Bank and also for Emprise Bank. We now have the documents in front of you to bring Fidelity on board as another IntraFi option for the City of Valley Center. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Do we have any questions? Get a motion to approve.
All right, motion to adopt resolution 767-24, expanding the investment option with Fidelity Bank for the City of Valley Center with an IntraFi account.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution 767-24. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Motion to approve Clint Miller, Desiree Womack, and Mayor James Truman, and Council President Anderson as authorized signers on the Fidelity Bank City of Valley Center IntraFi account.
Have a motion and a second to approve the signatures for the account. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to the Gold Star Award, approval of the end of the year bonus and additional day off.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening, we got another incredible Gold Star Award thanks to all of our staff, all the employees. I'm making sure that they are safe be during throughout the year. Like past years, with that it comes a discount for our workman's comp premium, depending upon the level of award. And ours is gold once again. As you see those little trophies, as Mayor Truman and I were talking to the second graders, everyone wondered what all those little trophies were back behind Councilmember Wilson and Councilmember Colbert. And that's what those are. Those are our Gold Star Awards for KMIT. Again, for this year, we did receive that. So we are requesting the 24th or Christmas Eve off as a full paid holiday, and then $800 after tax bonus to be paid to all full-time employees, and a $50 bonus to be paid to all part-time employees. I'll stand for any questions.
I move to approve granting one additional paid day off on December 24th, 2024, and a $100 after-tax bonus be paid to full-time employees and a $50 after-tax, is it after-tax on that one as well? After-tax bonus to be paid to less than full-time employees who have worked at least 100 hours.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the extra day off and the bonus. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Congratulations to our staff and our employees.
Yes.
Moving on to item E, approval of street closures, Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. I'm here to request a closure of Main Street. Good? Am I good? Okay. Everybody can hear me. The closure of Main Street, the 100 and 200 block of West Main for our trick or treat event, the 29th of October. 3 to 8 is what I'm requesting for setup. The actual event will be 5 to 7 p.m. And I will stand for any questions.
Motion to approve the request.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the request to close Main Street. for October 29th from 3 to 8. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a motion and a second to approve this consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to staff reports. Got Clint.
Kyle's for Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was waiting to see if I was still first on the list or not. So,
Guess you're always going to be first.
well, I know Neil stood up one time and it was at him first, so I had to go. Okay, so I've got a few dates coming up and a few announcements. First off, Thursday evening is going to be the last farmers market for the season. So please come out and support local vendors for that. At your seat, you each have several handouts from me. The first one on top was a half sheet with a QR code on it. As you know, we're in the midst of our comprehensive plan. Part of that is for the QR code is for a survey. We put that out to the public today. And we are asking for the public to take that survey. It's 20 questions, and please have that turned in, returned, or submitted online by October 22nd, so 1 week from today. The second one is the full sheet. Next week on the 24th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. We also have a public open house for our comprehensive plan review, so the public can hear about it and provide feedback as well. And we invite everybody to attend that. The other two flyers that you have at your seat are for TextMyGov. It is something we've been working on to potentially replace our app. If Clint could pull up, I have a little slideshow to kind of show you guys how it works. But there are two pieces to TextMyGov. You can text in a question, and there are prompts to help get you to where you need to go. The other option is, or the other way to use it is the city can send out messaging to residents or to subscribers. So I'll have Clint just kind of tab through these, but as you see, so this is today I texted in water issue, and then it replied back what the reporting options are. Then I texted in the option water leak, and it texts back. Then it starts a series of questions on this particular topic. What's the nearest address? So then I sent in City Hall's address. Then the next question is, please describe what you're seeing or send a picture in. And then I said there's water flowing down the gutter. And then the next one is, can you please provide your name? I sent my name in, and then it says, thank you for reporting. And then Rodney got an email that there was a water leak at City Hall. Did you get that? I told him before he got it, I said, that's a test. Don't freak out yet. So that's one way it can work. There's other things like if they want to check in, see about reserving a room at the community center, they can text in community center, and it'll provide them a link to where on the city website they can find that information. So not everything is a back and forth text. Some of it takes them directly to information regarding the subject that they texted in about. And like, as I mentioned briefly at the beginning, this also gives us the opportunity to text residents or anyone who subscribes. So if we have, for Fall Fest, we can send out, Main Street's closing at this time. Or Fall Fest is happening this weekend, and or potentially, if there's a water leak in an area and there's going to be houses out, we can potentially draw a polygon around just the houses affected and send it out to the people that are going to be affected in that affected area. We plan to go live with this November 1st, but you all can go ahead and text in to the 91896, the word Valley Center with no space, and you'll be subscribed to the messages from the city. And then, as I mentioned, we did send out the survey today, and we'll be promoting the comprehensive plan for next week. And then over the next few weeks, you'll be seeing more information coming out about TextMyGov.
I have a question for you real quick. Sorry.
You're good.
The alerts system, is that the same as if we have already signed up for the one through the app, or is that different?
So this is different than
Okay.
the app, yes.
Just so you know if I need to sign up for it.
Yes, please do.
Thank you.
Well, sorry. And also too, so just so you remember, if you signed up through the website to receive text messages through the website, that will not change. And so right now, if you, like today for the comp plan, I received the text message through the website, which is different than the app. And so we're trying to eliminate the app. We just have seen the amount of downloads really decrease. I think that has a lot to do with just storage space on your phone. And so text message, anymore, everyone has texting capabilities. I don't know if people even pay per text anymore. But as far as texting is a little easier to communicate with residents back and forth and not have to have, the iOS most updated system in order to then receive those notifications like you have to with the app. And so the app, depending upon Android or Apple, it changed how you were receiving those messages or if you even work. And so there's a lot more that went into the app and upkeep than just texting. And also, too, the great thing about this TextMyGov, I don't know if is it will use the phone numbers from the post office. And so if you have ever signed up, the post office or any of those things, it will send you how the spam you get, those text messages now, we're going to be that spam, which is great. And so in order to not get it, then you'll have to opt out and just hit, stop or whatever, which I thought, which really sold me on the fact of we will probably reach more citizens, more residents, and be more transparent than we even were before, because most people have had, their phone number at the post office at some point in time. So it will help with communicating out everything that's going on in the city. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you. Neil? Lloyd? Rodney?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. To begin, give you a brief update on the Meridians project in the north section to bring you update on the traffic lights. They're still on order. I believe we're still looking at 4 more weeks out on the traffic lights. Other than that, things have been moving along well. It looks like grass is growing. It looks like things are coming along well up there. If you may have noticed, Pearson's has been digging up the center lanes between Ford and 69th Street, getting ready for that pour. The original schedule was, because this is a difficult pour, with the slip form, the lane on the west side would be very, very narrow. So in order to try to accommodate traffic better, they originally had a plan to try to schedule this on a Saturday or on an off day and pour the whole thing in one 12-hour pour, starting maybe, the original plan was to start at like 4 in the morning on Saturday morning, go all day long. Well, there's some chances of rain, and if anybody has ever worked with concrete, rain and pouring concrete are not good bedfellows. So they've moved that back. They want to start closing down that section of Meridian, except for local traffic only, at 5 o'clock this Friday. They're putting out revised letters tomorrow, and then do that 12-hour pour and go on into that Saturday to try to get it all poured before we have a chance for that rain. So we can get that done. It's in order to accommodate back and forth traffic through there during that pour, it would be just astronomical. chemicals. So it's just better to bite the bullet, do a 12-hour pour, get this done, open the road back up. On the water, since on August 5th, we entered into water restrictions, as you know, with the city of Wichita. Since then, we have been averaging right at about a 35% reduction. Their target was a 10% reduction, so that's been very, very well. Public Works has issued out what we counted since in the last 2 months, only 8 door hangers, only 8 warnings. One of which we were hoping that this would work, and it did. One of which come back and said, "Hey, I'm on a well." Well, thank you for letting us know that. We didn't know that, so that gives us an opportunity for you to communicate back. City Hall has only issued 3 high usage warnings since in the last 2 months. So I think it's going very, very well. My compliments to all the citizens who are participating. You know, we're just knocking the heck out of that 10% reduction. So it's working out well. So over the last few months, you might have seen on the news, or over the last few years, there is an initiative from the EPA. It's called Get the Lead Out. And there's a push to get to, right now, what the cities, all cities around the country and different states had an initiative, and by October 16th, 2024, we were to submit an initial inventory of all of our service lines in our public water system, the materials, as best we could. So what we've been doing here at the City Valley Center, we took the approach, we filled out the inventory with all documentation we had on hand. With the help from PEC when we needed it, and digging through all of our documentation. And then we got that submitted last Thursday. Now, there's several portions, and this includes our portion, which is the city's portion is between the main and the meter. It also includes the private portion between the meter and the house. So along with that documentation, we sent out a survey several months ago, and we got out of just under 2,500 water services, we got over 400 responses back. For anybody know anything about surveys, that's a pretty doggone good response rate. And they were able to tell us what their indoor plumbing materials were and what their service lines, so that's a great help. So there will be several other designations. You're either going to have actual poly, galvanized, you're going to have or lead, or there's an unknown. Any unknown designation is going to be categorized as lead. Okay, we had several unknowns simply because we haven't gone out and excavated service lines at this point. So over the next 30 days, we're required to send out notices, and EPA sent out a standard letter to send out notices to everybody who had a designation of lead. That will include the unknowns. We're putting those letters together. We'll be mailing those out. I want to publicly say, if you get that letter in the mail, if you have any questions at all, please call us here at City Hall or Public Works, and we can explain this. It does not mean you have lead. Now, it does not mean you don't, but it does not mean you do. It just means we don't know at this point in time. And, you know, may be another opportunity for you to fill out that survey that's online to help us out. Maybe we can come and visit and try to help determine what your pipe materials are. In the meantime, over the next months and years, Public Works will be concentrating first on any of these residents that have the designation of lead. We'll be going out, we'll be excavating, doing the best we can to determine first our portion and the private portion of the service line. Obviously, we can't do anything about indoor plumbing unless we're invited in. You know, we're not going to be going and tromping all over somebody's private property. The only way we can excavate outside the right of way is if we get permission from the private property owner. We're not going to be going on anybody's private property looking for these service lines. So I just want to make that very, very clear that this is coming. You will be getting these letters. Just because you get a letter does not mean you have lead in your drinking water system. So if you feel free to give us a call, we'll be able to answer it. We'll answer any questions we can.
Rodney, I assume This is going to apply to the older homes mainly. Two questions.
Great deal, yes.
Do we know when that it was mandated to stop use it? Like, do we know?
Yes, yes, that's a very good point. Thank you, sir. In 1989 was when the use of lead was banned.
More recent, I think.
Okay, 1989 was when the use of lead was banned. Now, obviously, you can take that date, and that's a good tool. Is anybody with that when the house was built or when the plumbing was installed? If it was before 1989, then you want to concentrate on those and start looking at those first. Obviously, you're going to want to look at a few years past that because there's going to be municipalities, plumbing services that are going to be using up inventory. They're going to have inventory. They're going to be using up inventory. So probably I would be looking into the 1992, 93, 94 era. Anything after that, you're going to be pretty safe. The other portion is, the other thing they'll be looking for is if there's any copper products in there with lead solder in there. And during those few years after that, because that ban included that too, during those several years there, that's something to be looking for as well, as if there's copper parts in there with lead solder.
Is that, one more question. So you talked about the EPA wanting to know private supply also. Is that something we can tell by looking at the meter and seeing what their hookup is to start, or
at
is it?
some points now, sometimes the setter has a leg that'll go outside the meter can, and the hookups outside the meter can. So, but we do have areas. So our meters are in our right of way. So we do have some area on the personal side where we can excavate. Now, does that mean, that'll tell us right there? That's not going to tell if a portion was replaced between there and the house.
What's the end game for this? Are they going to require replacement for private citizens? And if so,
our portion right now, if we find anything, there's several designations that require replacement. One would be galvanized. They call it GRR. So if you have a galvanized pipe, galvanized steel, because there's a lot of scaling that'll happen in galvanized and they can hold that. If there's a galvanized pipe, then that's going to be required replacement. Obviously, if it's lead, it's going to be required to be replaced. Our portion is required to be replaced. What happens is if we find out that if the private side is the same way that needs to be replaced, then we're to offer that to the resident at their cost to get that replaced. At this point in time. Now, over the past 3 years, if anybody's been watching this rule's been changing like 3 or 4 times a year. And I look for it to change more. And I look for the rules to change. We're in election year. So right now we have to operate by the rules that are in front of us.
Rodney, so do you know roughly what percentage of the city still has services that are in that unknown or lead grouping?
Oh yeah. We had just over 1,000 out of just under 2,500. We have just over 1,000 services that would be in that designation of lead. Now that could include galvanized, required replacement, or unknown.
Is there any federal funding at the current time to help offset the cost for cities to replace that?
There are, and there's different fundings that will be available. Loans, grants. There was funding available to help with your inventory first, and then as they start working through these inventories, of course, this is nationwide. So KDHE, of course, is receiving all of our inventories for Kansas, and then each state, their equivalent to KDHE is going to be receiving all their inventories, and they're going to have to. This is going to be money. They're going to have to go through all these inventories, determine where they're at, and then they're going to have to come out and start speaking with cities individually and letting them know what they're going to have to do. So this is going to be an ongoing deal that we're going to be dealing with.
Basically outlining the process, and you asked what's the end goal or what's the next step here. Basically, what's due right now is the inventory. they'll collect the inventories. Now, they've said, yes, eventually the goal is to get these things replaced. It's not next year or in 2 years. It's going to be got until whatever year, 2030. That all that will be dependent on assuming magnitude of results of the surveys. We're doing the math and how much funding is needed throughout the United States. And a lot of it's first task is the inventory, the surveys that Robbie staffs.
And then to go along with that, the next step, even after you submit that inventory, so we're to make that inventory public. Now, however way you do that, it does require any municipality with a population of 50,000 or more have to place it on their website. We've chosen to do that anyway. So we're going to just place it on the website, and then we're going to go on and keep it updated and update as we get new homes. We've changed our procedures when we do inspections. We're rewriting our inspection forms where when they go in and do inspections, we're identifying employment materials. We're going to collect that information as we go and add that to the inventory as we go. As we uncover these, we'll go back and update that spreadsheet. So it's going to be a live document going forward as we go. Yes. And with any of these things, you're going to see these news blasts come out. And the latest one was, we're going to get the lead out and we want everything replaced in the next 10 years. Well, okay, so that's today. So tomorrow it might be a different story, as we all know how these things go.
Any other questions? Thank you, Rodney.
Want to get that out there ahead of time so people aren't surprised. So. Okay, thank you.
Casey?
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. Thanks, Brent.
Not done yet.
We are on track for moving our brush pile to a new location. And so we've created signage, as you can see, that we've created maps. It will be, the new entrance is going to be at the corner of Ash and Clay. So right now, you will enter on Industrial Street for the current location. Now, we will have signage there. If you're coming down Industrial Street heading west, there'll be signage that say turn right, brush pile this way. You head up to the corner, it'll tell you how to go. You'll run on back there. Right now, it's going to be basically behind Hornet Cutting. And there's how the Cedar Street comes south down by what used to be
Martin's.
come down by there. There's a cell tower there. It'll be right by that cell tower. It's a new brush pile. We are on track to having that open in the new location this weekend, Friday and Saturday.
It's still going to be open just the weekend, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. And a shout out to Fremar. They helped us out. Fremar was doing a lot of work up at the rec center, and for temporary rock for when they were doing the construction, they took a lot of that rock. They brought it down to this area. We were able to create a good base on the roadway back there. Pack that in, and then we put millings over the top of that to reduce dust. So we shouldn't have a lot of trouble, at least with the roadway with wet weather. So granted, we'll still have to, it'll be weather permitting, but I don't know as it'll be as big of a factor as it was.
Thank you. Casey? Nothing. Barry? Christine?
Last weekend was the League of Kansas Municipalities annual conference, and a couple of things happened during that conference. Lloyd was talking about how several of his employees were almost to the 16 or the 21-year mark. Well, that's because when the league recognizes, they have the conference date, not their actual hire date. So that's why the years were a little bit off. I do also want to recognize, not that he's been here that long, but Matt Stam was also recognized in their program for 20 years for working for the city of Derby. So maybe they don't do such great things that we do, but he was also recognized. They put all the different names, and there was one poor city clerk, oh my gosh, 45 years that she has worked for the city of Olathe. Bless her heart. I also, Kyle and I were able to attend the KMET annual meeting. And at that annual meeting is when we were recognized for receiving the Gold Star. And so I don't have the actual certificate yet. They mail them out afterwards. And the little great trophy. So, but we were also recognized by KMET as being a founding member 30 years ago that we joined KMET when they first started. And so we were recognized as one of the founding 30-year members. So well represented at the League Conference. Thank you.
Clint?
Good evening again. As I've told you previously in previous weeks, we continue to look for new ways to save Valley Center money. I like to call them wins, and probably my favorite part of my job is when I get to share a win with you and the citizens of Valley Center. We have a fund that has $141,300 in it called a Firefighters Relief Fund. And this fund is used for retirement gifts and insurance policies for our firemen. To date, in its history, it only makes 0.1 of 1% interest on this fund, on $141,300. Last year, it made $144, which I just think is awful. Desiree has been the one that's run with this one, and she has got interest to take it up to 2.64%. I'm not really sure where they got that number. They were supposed to match our rate on our other checking account, but they did not. But in the very first month, it did go from $12 to $311.28 in interest, which now makes it $3,735 a year in interest. But we're not done. I told Lloyd about this, and he gets to talk to his team. If he chooses to, we can take that entire $141,300 and make it his own separate IntraFi account, separate from the rest of our accounts, that could earn 4.741%. Then taking $311 to $558.25 a month for a grand total of $6,700 from what was $144. And I think that would be awesome if your firefighters choose to take that option, because they deserve every penny of that. And that would be ongoing money into the future for them. The second win we had, I told you previously that Valley Center has been with Civics Plus since 2002. The bill just kept climbing and climbing, and they were set to bill us $25,700 in 2025. We have made the decision that we're going to be terminating their services, and our contract expires 8/31/2025. Our new website will cost $249 per month, and we will get 2 months free. So it's going to be a very substantial drop. Here's the win that I had not expected. I was able to get our final invoice down from $25,700 all the way down to $4,480. That is a saving of $21,219 that will go back to our director's budgets in the 2025 upcoming year. Two other notes that I have: we received 3 bids for audit services. Brent, Desiree, and I will be going through those. And we will be presenting our findings to you on the November 5th council meeting for the request for RFP for audit services. Last things I wanted to share with you, I finally have real numbers now that we have Emprise, Intrust, and Fidelity. Emprise has bid their IntraFi rate at 4.4%. Intrust Bank has bid their IntraFi rate at 4.65%. And Fidelity has bid their Intrafy rate at 4.741%. So there's a pretty big gap between the three. Fidelity is currently on top. Again, these numbers are highly volatile, and it's something that we'll have to manage monthly going forward into time. But right now, we did just get the large bond fund last Friday deposited into our accounts. We're going to be investing a very large money now that we passed this Fidelity bond, this resolution earlier tonight, and we're going to be getting very aggressive this week in getting those funds and start making Valley Center some additional money on our bond fund and also on our main checking account. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Brett?
Good evening once again. I'll have to check to make sure my voice is coming through. Few things for this week. We do have our last farmers market is this week, so make sure if you haven't had a chance, check it out. Right, Chris? 4 to 7 is the final one of the season. Can you believe it's already the end of the season? Kenny? That's it. And the reason why I really brought it up, so I mean, if a lot of you didn't know, I mean, Chris Strunk has done an incredible job with stepping up. He helps lead that with Amy Stam, and they really took it over this year and brought it to the next level. And we look forward to seeing that for years to come. But they do so much work ahead of time. And then once everything's all done, after all the vendors, I mean, cleaning up the trash, making sure all the tents are back down. So Main Street Valley Center is really thriving, and it's because of work, especially with Chris Strunk and Amy Stam on that, and all the other volunteers throughout the board that also help on a farmers market to farmers market basis. Also, rec center update real quick. It is moving along. It is looking fantastic. I was just in there yesterday. Epoxy floors are going in. The epoxy floors look really, really nice. Doors, windows, I mean, all the window frames are almost all in now. When you walk in the lobby, they're just finishing up putting that lobby glass to separate that pool and the front lobby area. The cow wall will also be going up on the front of it. The landscaping is taking shape, looking really great outside. So if you go out there now, you'll see all the different forms and all the final kind of pavement and concrete areas shaping up in front of the building. And then also where all the landscaped areas will be throughout. Also, too, if you see a little pipe sticking up with wires, that's for all the lit bollards that will be surrounding the front of that building to also help light up the pathway and sidewalk areas as you enter in the facility. It is all locked now. There's a beautiful security system, and so you can sleep well at night knowing that they will not have the break-ins, and if they do, we will definitely hear when the alarm goes off. And so it is locked up now, it's secure, and we still do plan on opening towards the end of January now. So it did delay, about a month from the break-in that did occur about a month ago. Also, too, I cannot believe last meeting, we had so much going on and so many proud things to talk about. We completely forgot to recognize how incredible of the Fall Fest this year was. And I know that a lot of you, I saw most of you down there. We had a really successful Fall Fest this year. The Chamber did an extraordinary job, especially with pushing out the buttons. I think we had more button sales than we have had in the past few years, with just explaining, what the buttons are. And then also we had a local student artist that did have the winning button design. So that was exciting. I know that there was a record attendance over the Kids Fest area and the pickleball and washer tournaments and all those fun activities. And so thank you all for another successful Fall Fest. I know the Chamber did an outstanding job, and it takes a lot to put that together. So thanks for all the volunteers that came as well. Other than that, I won't steal the mayor's thunder whatsoever with that thing that's been sitting there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to governing body reports. Yeah, this is our trophy this year. We took it to Park City. Monday was Valley Center Day in Park City. which was uneventful for us. But this is the new traveling trophy. It has all our victories and loss on it, and it will continue to go to whoever the winner is, to display proudly in City Hall or right here on the council meeting so the citizens can see it. I was thinking about talking to the library about putting it in a case.
I don't know if it'll fit there.
Anyway, just to add a little more enthusiasm and incentive to get our numbers up. Like I told Park City, it really wasn't a win or loss situation as far as cities goes, but we lost about 90 donors between the first year and this year, between the two cities. So that's a trend we got to stop. I talked to Brent about it a little bit. I think it's, for me, last year it was because I forgot it and I drove by and I said, well, I can't donate because I didn't make an appointment. Well, we can take walk-ins. So next year we're going to press this a little harder. But yeah, that's what that's for. I thought it would be something to, Park City had Valley Center Day, big deal. Valley Center, we've got a trophy now to show that we won. And it would have been a big deal if it had been Valley Center, Park City Day at Valley Center, though, I got to admit. But it's just a one day there. This is all year.
And you did get that red carpet trophy across the street. So I want to make sure you give a good plug
yeah, we
for
got
them.
that for red carpet or red wing? Red carpet? Red carpet, yes. Red carpet put that together. I went in one day and kind of explained what I wanted, and the next day we had a trophy. That was quick. And so I thank them for that, and that's what this gaudy looking thing's for. Yeah, it was well received at Park City, although I don't think the presentation was quite well received. Brent came in behind me as I was up at the podium playing "We Are Champions" and brought the trophy out. So anyway, this year's conference was good. My first one in 20 years, so that was interesting. I didn't make everything I wanted to go to, but I did learn a lot on the items that I went to. So I appreciate the city putting the members that went into the deal. And let's see, is anything else? No, my compliments to the Pearson guys. They are flat busting their hump down that road to get it done. And people are just going to have to understand the road's going to be closed. And it's just going to be closed a little while, 12 hours instead of 6 days. So, it's just something we got to go to when it comes to growth. So that's all I have. Moving on to Ron.
I have no.
Robert?
I have nothing, sir.
Ben?
I have nothing.
Gina?
Well, I too enjoyed the LKM conference. I learned some stuff that I need to talk to probably Chief Newman and Mr. Clark about. And thank you. It was nice.
Matt?
I just want to give a shout out for all the digging, investigating, finding money sitting around. That's pretty good. And then Christie for accolades for 20 years, which actually 31 years. They don't need the 11 years I have to sign.
Well, that's what it is.
And with that, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried, meeting adjourned.
You have papers for me to sign. Getting close to that city clerk.